Welcome, it's Bronze and Modern Gods. I'm John.
And I'm Richard.
Hi, everybody. We have a show like we always do every Monday for you. You know how it works. We've got the hot book of the week, underrated book of the week, the old fart rule this week, Richard, everyone's favorite. And our main topic, counterfeit slabs. What?
Yeah.
I mean, history has shown us the counterfeit Cerebus #1s, the counterfeit Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now we have counterfeit keys and slabs. We've got a little bit of a breakdown of this and how you can protect yourself. But first, it's our hot book of the week. Richard, take it away. It's all you.
Yeah, this is all me. In the hot book this week is Action Comics 1053. Book isn't even out yet, but it is on fire. Specifically, the Comic Mint's Will Jack cover. And here's the cover. It is absolutely gorgeous. He has a Virgin cover and a trade dress cover. They are two different covers, but very, very much related. And it went on sale on Sunday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Time. By 2:02, all of the Virgin covers were sold out.
Wow.
It was one of those runs. There are 3,000 trade dress, 1,000 Virgin. You can only get the Virgin paired with the trade dress. They were doing that malarkey again. But yeah, this cover was just, and I think part of the problem, well, part of it was FOMO because previously, the last month, there was Action Comics 1051, which has a gorgeous cover by Warren Liu that is just amazing. It also sold out, and it's going for a lot of money right now. The raws are about 160 to 200. And it also had the same kind of print run. So I'm thinking people saw this one. Not only is it just amazing, this is my first Will Jack cover, so I'm really impressed by his work. But it's gorgeous cover. It reminds me of the cover from The Boys from last year, if you remember that cover.
Yeah.
Just an amazing cover. There is also a Nathan Zerdy cover, 1 in 25, which is going to be even more scarce. Zerdy does a lot of adult covers. I was surprised at his restraint with this particular cover.
Is this
But,
restraint?
well, it's for Power Girl, it's restraint.
Okay.
Yeah, so this book is really hot. People, if you go on eBay right now, you will see some of the trade dress copies up there for $40. Don't buy them. Go to thecomicmint.com or Sad Comics. There are a number of different sites that have the trade dress for sale for $20, which is what they retailed for. 7 of 9 Comics is another shop that has them. Go out, pick up a copy there. I think it's gorgeous. I think it's going to have the same kind of staying power that Action Comics 1051 is going to have with the Warren Liu cover. So if you can get yourself a copy, get yourself a copy. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous book.
2 big reasons why you should buy
it. Yeah. Power Girl is a gift that keeps on giving.
Sorry about that to our female listeners. That's not cool. Time for our main topic. Richard, I don't know. This is kind of a bummer. Counterfeit CGC slabs. For the people who are not fully aware of what's going on yet, there was a dealer that calls himself the man behind the comics. He posted on Facebook about being scammed by a seller who had a Hulk #1 in a slab and a coverless Captain America Comics #1. Here is the Hulk in the slab. Now, what do you think when you see this, Richard?
From that picture, it looks legit to me.
It looks absolutely legitimate, doesn't it? Now, when you look at it closely, if you are in graphic design or you work with typography or things like that, like I do on a daily basis, the font looks wrong immediately to me. The Incredible Hulk font and even the 6.5, I can't put my finger on it, but there's something wrong. I knew it the minute I saw it. Now, if I had not known it was a counterfeit book, I probably would have glanced right by it. How did this happen? Well, the guy who bought the book, the man behind the comics, he wanted to get it verified, so he sent it to a third party who unfortunately told him, "Hey, this case has been tampered with at the bottom. If there is the seals were broken and resealed the bottom posts, and unfortunately, the book inside." I'm going to bring it up here so you can see it on the screen. Sorry to our podcast listeners. This is a real visual one. You got to look at this on
Mhm.
YouTube. That's what it looks like outside of the slab next to a legitimate Hulk number 6. So
Right.
you can kind of see the size is wrong. The paper is wrong. It was a color photocopy,
Oh, yeah.
right?
That's yeah.
That's kind of crazy. But it doesn't stop there. I should mention that the uh, the books were all coming from the same scammer, apparently, that's in the Northwest, particularly Spokane, Washington. And so there are other books out there. For example, this is a counterfeit Amazing Spider-Man #1. Again, you would never know it if you just came across this book. And then there was a coverlet or the cover for Captain America #1 that was all age. See the water stain he even put on the
Mm.
side there. These books were discovered to be counterfeit. Again, look at that Spider-Man label. Look at the 6.0. Something's off about that number font. This is a coverless Captain America #1 that looked legitimate. See how he's aged that as well and put some
Mhm.
dirt on the pages. Uh, there's one for you, a giant
Yeah.
size X-Men #1. This is counterfeit. Again, just a color
And
photocopy.
that's that square binding too, you know? It's I yeah.
Um, then you have a counterfeit Hulk 181. This one cracked out of the case looks really obvious. When it's cracked out of the case, it does look obvious. You can see that cover doesn't rest the way a normal cover should.
Mhm.
And it's unfortunate. So there's some debate going on. Who's responsible? What do you think? I mean,
It
obviously, the victim is not responsible.
No, no, it's whoever is perpetrating this fraud. So someone took a legitimate CGC case, cracked it enough to get the book that was in the original case out and the label, where it was able to slide in a counterfeit book inside of an inner well back into the case and was able to put in a counterfeit label. So whoever went through that process is the person who should be prosecuted for this whole event.
And the reason I say that is not because that's obviously what who's responsible, but some people are like, "Oh, CGC needs to change their techniques and find better ways to keep the book secured." I would argue the CGC slabs did what they were supposed to do in this case, because if you do look at the posts where they're sealed, you can see they were broken and resealed.
Right.
You got one there? What are you looking at?
I'm looking at I've got a CGC case here. This is a 6.5, strangely enough. On the side, there is a ultrasonic weld. It's
Mhm.
basically they used sound to melt the plastic to form this very unique and very consistent weld along the side. As long as that weld is intact, it's very, very difficult to get into the book. So someone had to
How about the bottom?
force.
Show us the bottom.
Let me see if
See
you
the
see the
2
bottom.
posts? See the 2
Mhm.
posts in the corner?
Just mhm,
Those are what were cracked, and he shimmied the plastic inner well
mhm.
out, apparently, and then shimmied a new one in. That's where they were resealed. So,
Yeah,
you didn't from what I understand, someone please correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, the sides weren't touched, and those
it
ultrasonic
was
seal.
the posts that were broken at the bottom.
Right, right, which are
But
also ultrasonically sealed.
mm, you know, yeah, it's not CGC's fault, and frankly, the design of this case has proven to be successful for how many years now? Probably
It's
20
been
years now.
going on 24 years, I think.
Mhm. So I really don't think that's the issue. has a very similar case design. There is also the same type of potential to be tampered with. But I think this really falls into the case of, caveat emptor. I'm not buying in the case of that Hulk 60 Help number one, 6.5. It's a $54,000 book.
Right.
I think and obviously the buyer had some thoughts of fraud because he sent it to that third party to get the book.
He was, from my understanding, he was trying to do a trade, and the person that he was trading with was like, "Hey, wait a second, you've got some counterfeit stuff here." The happy ending to all this is they know who the instigator is, the
Mhm.
alleged instigator, and there has been a police report filed. So we're waiting for all that. If you guys are all like, "Why aren't you naming who the guy is?" It's because nothing's been proven yet.
Mhm.
And I'm not all about being sued. So we'll wait and see what happens. But that is part of a somewhat happy ending. What
But
would you do?
then,
What would you do to protect yourself?
wow, that's a tough one. Because both of us buy slabs on a regular basis and with a cursory examination. I happen to get that particular book in trade. I know the guy who I got it in trade, Hayakusa. So I didn't even examine the book. It was just straight up goes directly into the collection. I think what we're going to have to do is become more diligent. And as you get these books in, do an examination of the book to make sure that, regardless of the source, because the person that you're trading with may have been duped from a previous trade, and now you're getting this book secondhand. And while the source is trustworthy, the actual book that they're passing on to you may not be. So due diligence, I think, is something that we're going to have to really watch for.
I can predict people in the comments already screaming, buy raws, buy raws. This is the only way you're going to be protected. I don't know if that's realistic now when it comes to high dollar books like this, where you and I have the exact opposite reaction as collectors. If there's a Hulk number one and it's not slabbed, I'm immediately suspect. Like,
Hmm.
why didn't you get this slab? What's wrong with it? Is it
Right.
restored? Yeah. So I'm not
That's Yeah, you're right. I mean, and when the process of getting a book graded means that book goes through a completely objective process where they determine the condition of the book, whether or not it has been altered in any way, and then it is protected. The book is put into that inner well and then into the outer well. You get the micro chamber paper added, although these fakes actually had the micro chamber
I
paper.
know. This guy has spare time, man. Who has the time?
But yeah, you protect that book. You can now transport that book without worrying about handling issues because it's protected by the slab. So for me, the high dollar books would definitely be something that I would have graded.
I would tips to keep yourself from getting ripped off with these high dollar books. Ask for references if it's someone you've never dealt with before and they're
Mhm.
a reputable dealer. They've done business with other dealers before and get a couple references. You're spending, you know, sometimes up to five figures, six figures on something. You should ask for references. Ask to
Mhm.
see their ID. Ask to see a driver's license. Ask them to sign a bill of sale and see what their reaction is. Um, Check the census number.
Mhm.
Uh, Obvious thing to do, but if you still smell something, call CGC and ask if there are possible pictures. If the original submitter had them photographed at CGC as well, maybe pay by check. You
Mhm.
can always stop a payment. I think if
And
there's
if you feel, everyone has an internal BS meter, right? So you look at something and it just doesn't feel right. And if you're about to write that check or hand over those $100 bills and something just doesn't feel right, trust your gut.
yeah.
Do further investigation, ask for further proof, especially if it's not an in-person transaction. Ask for more pictures. You can't, if the deal is a legitimate deal, the seller is not going to object to more pictures or more proof. If he does object, then that's yet another red flag that you want to be aware of.
Pay with an Amex. You're going to be protected by American Express for theft and for returns. But you touch on something, if it's too good to be true, it
Mhm.
absolutely is too
Absolutely.
good to be true then. This Hulk in a number 1 in a 6.5. So the 90-day average is $71,000, right?
Definitely know what the market value of a book and be aware of that when you make a transaction.
Yeah, and just if it's too good to be true, I mean, come on, just don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Stay safe out there when you're
Mm,
collecting. I feel bad for this guy because he was excited. He got books that he was going to trade for something he really wanted, which is something we talk about all the time. And to have the rug pulled out from under you like this, it's sad.
I definitely hope he gets his money back from that transaction. But it does highlight the fact that technology has gotten to a point where we can people can create these fakes that are good enough to pass first muster for a lot of collectors, and it's something that we need to be aware of moving forward.
I know. Well, I'm trying to think of a really good transition to something more joyful, but I'm having trouble. So let's go to the old fart roll. I don't know. I don't know. Richard, you pick this, and it's a book that's near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, I picked it because this is a book you were on the hunt for when we went to California Comic Con, and you did not manage to secure one. But I know you're still on the hunt for it, and it's Blip #1, the video game magazine comic book by Marvel. It's the first appearance of Donkey Kong and Mario Brothers in comics, if that is important to you. But it is a cult favorite book for video game enthusiasts of a certain age. John?
1983, I bought this off the newsstand. I was like, "Oh, Marvel's doing a video game magazine slash comic book." I had loved my Atari 2600. I think at this point I had upgraded to a TI 99 4A.
Ooh,
Yeah, it had a mini keyboard. I remember that. Boy, what a piece of crap video game system the TI was.
yeah,
Oh, I thought I was moving into the 8-bit arena. I guess technically I was, but I
not a
remember.
gaming screen.
No, but you could take cartridges, that was a good thing, and then I would also buy those, computer gaming magazines that had, games that you could type in and save to a cassette tape
Yeah,
and borrow
I
it.
typed in many a line of code before I became a programmer because
Me
I wanted to
too.
play video games.
I wish I stuck with it. I could be, like, sitting on a mountain of cash right now. A mountain of blip number ones. The last sale for a 9.8 was $2,250. What the heck? No, I'm not paying that.
Yeah, it's more of the nostalgia. People just like you, of a certain age, who have the money now, are looking to relive those moments from 40 years ago. So this book has some significant value.
There's a direct version, there's a newsstand version, there's a Canadian price variant version. Collect them all, Richard, because I'm not going to. I would like to have a blip number one. We saw one at California Comic Con. It was in the stroller collection for
Yes, it
people
was.
who are familiar with what that means. Um, I think I saw one in Ohio when I was there at our friend Eric's shop, Comics or Go. I just couldn't bring myself to pull the trigger on it. Well, moving on from Blip to our underrated comics of the week, Richard. Oh, look at you! It's a Star Wars book. It's been a while.
It's been a while, yeah. I picked Star Wars Clone Wars Adventures, the free comic book day book from 2004. This is the first appearance in comics for General Grievous. General Grievous is the guy with the multiple lightsabers, multiple arms that is in the early Star Wars movies. Grievous is a popular character in the canon. He is a character that is across multiple stories, including the Clone Wars. Uh, he meets his demise at some point, but that doesn't mean that he isn't again an important character. I'm surprised his first appearance is so affordable. You can get a raw for this book for about $35 on eBay right now. Now, again, this is a free comic book day book, meaning on the cover there is a white area where comic book stores have a stamp, and they would stamp those free books with their comic book store information. If at all possible, get a book that does not have a stamp, because if it has a stamp and you send it to CGC, you're going to get a qualified grade on that book. So
I'm
look,
sure.
yeah. So make sure you find the books that do not have that stamp, unless the stamp is part of the nostalgia for you, and because it's from your favorite comic book store, then ignore what I just said. 9.8s go for about $230. So I
Hey,
still think that's pretty affordable. And,
it's a nice return on a zero investment.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, so the free comic book days, this book may be sitting around in some dollar bins. You never know. Keep an eye out for it.
One thing about free comic book day books I've also noticed is some stores they don't stamp them, but they'll put stickers on the inside front cover. I had a copy of Umbrella Academy,
Yeah.
the free comic book day one, the giant sticker for an LCS on the inside. It's like, oh man, you're
Do you
killing.
still get qualified for that since it's on the inside? I know you don't get it for signatures if it's on the inside.
I think it would be a defect. You could request, hey, I want a green label on this. If it's a 9.8 without, otherwise without the stamp, you would have a 9.8 green qualified label. But with the blue, if you want a blue label, it'll probably knock it down to a 7,
Oh,
maybe.
wow. Okay.
I'm sure they would ding you big time for a sticker like that. It's a bummer.
Yeah.
In better news, my underrated book of the week is a Marvel Western. I haven't done one of these in a while. It is Two Gun Kid number 77. Richard, look at the guy on that cover. Does he remind you of anyone?
He looks really, really, really familiar.
That would be the first appearance of The Panther by Al Hartley and artist Dick Ayers. The Panther looks a little bit like the Black Panther.
Yeah.
Maybe exactly like the Black Panther.
I don't think they had to take much leap to make make the costume change to go to Black Panther from that.
I think the Black Panther costume is actually a step down. This panther has a gun in his hand. I like that. Uh, you could call this a Black Panther prototype. There's all sorts of prototype books out there. Doctor Strange prototype,
Mhm.
Hulk prototype, Thing prototype. This is a book I always looked at and wondered why it wasn't worth more. And then I turned around and boom, it exploded because an 8.0 sold in May for $504. That was up from $324 the year before. So it looks like people are finally catching on. You go look on eBay, type in Two Gun Kid 77. Everybody puts Black Panther prototype in the description now. So I think the secret's out. I do think it's still underrated. I think if you're going through the Western box at your LCS that nobody touches for years, and you walk away with dusty, dirty fingerprints because you've the only person that flipped through it in the last 5 years, you might find a copy of Two Gun Kid 77 hiding in there.
Yeah, yeah, westerns are hot. If you live in an area where they're not necessarily appreciated, go through your LCS and raid them and be able to sell them online. People like John will snap them up.
Right? Are you a Black Panther guy? Do you buy a lot of Black Panther stuff?
No, not even after the movie. I have some Black Panther stuff. I was pretty ambivalent to it before the MCU. So no, not really. Falcon. I was a big Falcon guy, but
I
not
don't know.
necessarily.
I always ended up buying Black Panther books. I because Jack Kirby did it for a while. I always bought Jungle Action as a kid whenever I could find it on the newsstand. That one was almost impossible to find, but I remember being 9, 10 years old and trying to understand Don McGregor's Jungle Action scripts, and just I couldn't understand what was going on, but I knew I liked it.
Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't read it. I'm a big fan of the X-Men, and of course, Oro is Storm is his wife at some point, and I'm a big fan of Doom, and there's a whole Doom storyline involved with Wakanda, and yet still I did not read it during the day.
I would direct you to the Christopher Priest Marvel Knights Black Panther from the early 2000s.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yes, at least the first 30 issues, because it sets up a war between Wakanda, Latveria, and
The whole Doom War
Atlantis.
saga.
Yeah, it's really good. And of course, I'm always going to boost Christopher Priest on this podcast as much as I can. It is a book you cannot skim. I
Mhm.
will warn you guys right now. If you read the Christopher Priest Marvel Knights Black Panther, you got to pay attention because it kind of jumps between scenes and times. I'm not saying it's impenetrable and it's really worth it, but it is not a book you can skim and go, oh, there was a fight scene. Great. No, you got to pay attention, people. This is entertainment. We take it seriously.
That's good to know. I'm interested in the lead up to the Doom War saga, so that's
There it
perfect.
is.
Perfect reading material.
And on that note, we're going to wrap it up for this week. Richard, remind everyone where they can find us during the week if they want more content.
They can go to Facebook or Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods or the website bronzeandmoderngods.com.
Thanks, guys. Hit a like, hit subscribe, do all that good stuff. Help us out, and we will catch you next time.
Everybody, stay safe.